Oh look, a socket. Someone left a socket in their frame. That's never happened to us before. Welcome back to another video. Spence here at Core 4x4, and today we have a ZJ in the shop. And for those of you that don't know, the ZJ is the Jeep Grand Cherokee model years from 93 to 98. And I swore after the TJ video we just did that I'd be done working on rusty Jeeps. But today we're kind of doing an install, not a full install. I wanted to highlight our long arm kit that we've made for the ZJ. And a little story behind this long arm kit, we've actually had it for about 6 or 7 years and just never got around to listing it on the site and just doing the finishing touches. So today I wanted to do that. I wanted to go through the kit, explain the benefits, and just show it on a Jeep and talk a little bit about the install. Our buddy Grant, this is his Jeep, and he was the second Jeep we ever put this long arm kit on, and he wanted to upgrade to the crawl, so we got the crawl series. We're going to swap out the arms. We're going to show you a little bit of that. So let's get over to the table and check out the kit. So this is our kit for the Jeep Grand Cherokee ZJ. Now what I love about this kit is that it is a true 4-link front and rear, and it rides fantastic and flexes out amazing. Either a true 4-link or a 3-link, which you can run this kit as, is really the ideal setup for any real extreme off-roading. All those other run-of-the-mill kits that have the radius arms, that have the short uppers and the long lowers just cause a lot of axle wrap, a lot of axle bind, and really limit you overall and don't give you the true benefits of a long arm kit. What we have in the studio here is on a 6-inch lift, but it has our old Camp Series arms, which has the bushing at one end, and he is just strictly off-roading now, so we're going to upgrade to the crawl arms, which allow a lot more flexibility on both ends without really running through bushings. Now, the advantage of the crawl series is that this is adjustable on both ends of the arms, which allows you to do your adjustments while the arms are installed on the Jeep, which makes alignment and dialing things in a lot more simple. Now this kit does include all 8 arms, your front and rear frame brackets, and a new cross member, which does change depending on whether you have the straight 6 or the V8 model. And of course this kit includes all new grade 8 hardware. Now the crawl series arms are made with 5/16 wall DOM tubing. You can lay your whole Jeep on this, set it down on the rock, and really not ever worry about bending it. In the history of Core, we've had one bent crawl arm, and this guy dropped off a cliff. Really. Now I know we're only changing out the arms today, but I did want to get a Jeep that had our kit on it, that's been on there for a while, so we can really see how the arms have done, see what the brackets look like, and go over some of the intricacies of the install of this kit. Now, the front end is a lot like our Jeep Cherokee XJ long arm kit, and if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. But it does have a few tweaks on that install, and the rear end is actually pretty straightforward. So let's get this Jeep in the air, pull the arms off, and see what they look like after 6 years of hard off-roading. Okay, so now that we got the Jeep in the air, it's really cool to get under here and just see how the arms have held up and how this kit has done over the last 6 years. Now, this kit, I do remember, it was our second ZJ long arm kit that we ever did. So there's a few funky things I wanted to point out, like this rear arm stripped out because I remember having to move this bracket forward to get everything to fit because we didn't quite have our lengths figured out for this kit yet. So that's why this one is stripped out. It only had about a 1/2 inch of thread engagement, and that's always going to strip one of your arms. But we got longer arms now. We're going to fix that at the same time as replacing all the other arms. I also remember this kit was back when we used an automotive finish, kind of like a spray paint, before we did any powder coating, so I'm not surprised to see some of the chipping. Plus we have a lot of salt here in Utah. They do salt the roads quite a bit in the winter, and you kind of see that on the kit. So pretty beat up. It is used and abused, so it's about what you'd expect to see on a kit that's been on a Jeep for 6 years. That's strictly off-road. Like I said in the intro, we're only swapping out arms today since all his brackets are in good shape. There's no cracks in the welds, no broken or torn tabs. So we're just swapping out arms. I do just want to talk about the brackets while we're here under the Jeep, so you can kind of get a feel for the install and what it takes and what goes into this. So let's get started. Now on all the brackets, all 4, front and rear, it does take an 1.5 inch hole saw to get this center hole cut out. So when you do the install, you line up your bracket with this pinch seam, Then you mark out your center hole, and you need to get that hole saw to cut this out. And then these two nut tabs are for these two bolts here that really hold the bracket up against the frame. Then you got your two frame bolts that go all the way through. And this one on the back here actually clamps your rear upper control arm here. So this is the last bolt you put on this rear bracket as you install this rear upper control arm. All right, so the trash can's my table today because this arm is an old greasy mess. And this jam nut was loose, so that's not good because that's what causes thread failure. But we're just gonna measure this one and try not to make a mess. But before you measure, you always wanna make sure your Johnny joints are straight. But this one's pretty tight, so that's a good sign. If your Johnny joints aren't wobbly all over the place, then they're probably still in good shape. I'm just gonna turn this, even though it's gonna. For this arm, we're right about 36 inches. It's not gonna be a standard kit measurement, it's gonna be a little shorter than that. But we're just matching what's on the Jeep, just so we don't have to realign. So we're gonna set this one at about 36. Okay, this one's set, let's go get it bolted in. So leverage is always key when you're working on suspension. There's always a way to manipulate the axle to get your brackets to line up how you want. Now, these arms are adjustable on the Jeep, so it is tempting to just bolt them in at whatever length that your brackets are lining up to and adjust them down. That can actually be more difficult if there's a lot of binding or if you're fighting the uppers like we were on this one. So because we have poly bushings and we're switching to Johnny joints on everything, once the Johnny joints are in, the axle is going to move a lot more freely. It's going to be a lot easier to adjust and get the arms exactly where we want them. And since we don't want to realign, we're just in a match length on everything. And I really didn't want to measure and remeasure while it's installed. All right, so now we're going to work on the rest of the control arms on this rear end and get it all buttoned up. All right, you can see on this one, these Johnny joints only have about 2.5 inches of thread, so we really only have, like I said before, about a 1/2 inch of thread engagement. So I'm actually surprised this one didn't strip as well. I'm gonna grab one of these upper rears, I'm gonna set the lane. Now you can see way better thread engagement with lots of room to adjust. That's why the Crawl series is nice, the double threaded, gives you a lot more room to adjust everything. So this one's set. All right, driver's side's done. It's already looking better. Now we need to get to the passenger side. That one's looking a bit worse because we have that stripped thread. But we're gonna get this all back together and it's gonna be riding great once again. So let's knock out the passenger side. Gotta love this. Johnny joint looks okay, but that's our thread engagement right there on that side, so pretty shoddy. All right, first person to DM us with their address and pay for shipping, you can have all these old long arms. Otherwise, I'm tossing them. All right, so we got all the rear arms replaced, and it's just looking a ton better. The jam nuts, I will note, if you're up here where the exhaust on that upper arm, if you don't have a good crow's foot, I'd really recommend tightening that jam nut before you put the arm in. You can do that if you know your length. Other than that, the rear end's done, so let's get on to the front. Gotta do this the hard way. So now we got that driver's side lower out of there. I did want to talk about the brackets on the front. Much like the rear, you are drilling a big hole with the 1.5-inch hole saw to get your nut tabs up in there. So in total on the frame brackets for the front, you are drilling 5 holes. These 3 down here, and then your 2 frame holes that go all the way through to sandwich the frame. Much like the XJ video, there is a lot of trimming on your pinch seam right here that you'll need to do to clearance for your upper arm and for the bracket to get up there. And if you guys really want to see a full install of this kit, just comment, let me know, and we'll get a ZJ in here and we'll do the full kit, full install. So much like the rear, this front bracket is designed to line up with your pinch seam overlap, where this front part of your body has a little bit of sheet metal that overlaps your main subframe here. So there is a line that the back edge of this bracket lines up, and that's how you line everything up to drill your holes on these brackets. For now, I hope this answers any of your questions about the install on this kit. And if you do still have questions, let us know. Reach out to sales or support at Core 4x4 and we'll be happy to help. But yeah, let's get back to swapping the arms out on this. This kit, as I mentioned before, was like one of our first kits. So it was before we welded the nut tab on the back of the bracket. I don't know why we didn't do that from the beginning, because it's actually really hard to get a wrench up in here in between your frame and get a nut on. So we'll see if we can get this off. Okay, we got it. Yeah, getting it back on is another story though. Go measure this one out and put a new one in. These arms to hit the top of the bracket either have an offset on the U bracket where it's like that, or our new version also has an offset but a slight bend to help clear exhaust and drive lines. Now measuring these arms are a lot more difficult than measuring a standard straight arm where it's bolt to bolt, because your outside measurement, this measurement here, is going to be longer than your inside measurement. Now the trick, it's very simple, is just an average between the 2 measurements. So that's why you saw me flipping the arm over back and forth. So my outside measurement was about 32.75, and my inside measurement was about 32.25. So our true measurement is about 32.5. Match both sides to your existing, that's what you want. Hopefully that makes sense. And now that we got it measured, we didn't do this on the upper rears, and we should have. We're gonna lock down the jam nuts before we bolt it on, because the upper front is actually more difficult to get a crow's foot up in there to tighten your jam nuts. And having tight jam nuts is super important to protect the longevity of your threads. So we're gonna lock them down here, and then we'll go over to the Jeep and bolt the arm on. Hallelujah, this bolt isn't seized. Almost there. A little bit more. A little bit more. Okay, so passenger side upper control arm bolt is a bit of a bear because you have the exhaust here that runs right along the bracket. So what we're going to do is we're going to just drop the transfer case a little bit, pull that exhaust down. We should be able to access that bolt and get our last arm in. Step one complete. Hey, there's a socket in this side too.
Oh, Graham needs to check it.
All right. Done. So that wraps it up for the ZJ long arm kind of install. We replaced all the arms. We didn't tighten the axle side bushings because again, they are rubber. They have a fused crush sleeve. We're gonna do that when we put the Jeep back on the ground. But while we have it in here, we're gonna be doing a little bit of steering mods for the customer. So we're gonna wait on that. But other than that, we got the jam nuts tight. We got that cross member back up. That passenger side bolt is a bear, like I said, because you do have the exhaust running right there in front of it. So we did have to drop the cross member to get that in. And like I said before, if you guys want to see the full install of this kit, just comment down below. Let us know. We'll get a ZJ in here. We'll do it from scratch. So this kit will finally be available on the site, and we'll link it down below in the description. So check it out. If you have any questions, reach out to us at sales or support@core4x4.com. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe because that really helps us out in what we're doing here, bringing you guys content. And we'll catch you in the next one.